E-commerce sellers, you got to have branding. If you're not building your brand, then you're definitely going to suffer. We're going to talk about how to win and how to win with customers with unique branding coming up.
Welcome to Ecommerce Revamped, where we break down the hottest trends, insider tips, and strategies shaping the future of e-commerce. Powered by Miva, the engine behind seamless online stores. Now here's your host, Rob Stanley.
Welcome to another great episode of Ecommerce Revamped. Another good one. Win customers anywhere with smart brand building. That is definitely something you need to be doing. Brand building is a big thing. And if you're not doing it, you're going to lose. And others are already doing it. So listen up. We got a great one today. We got Emma from Marketing by Emma. Let's bring her onto the stage.
Hello.
Hey, Emma.
Hi,
How
Rob.
are you?
I'm
Good to see
great.
you.
I'm happy to be here. It's great to see you.
So full disclosure, Emma and I have been friends for many years. And of course, we're both marketers. So we'd love to talk to each other and hang out and all kinds of stuff. And, we're going to dive right into this. We're talking about, Emma, obviously, win customers anywhere with smart brand building. But let's kick this off with what drives emotional connection in brand building. That's kind of a big topic and a big question. So help us out at least with some of that.
Absolutely. So emotional connection, obviously we're wanting to create emotional connection with your customers, those target people who you know are going to absolutely love whatever product you're selling. And so it's important first, before we dive into creating that emotional connection, that we need to understand who we are trying to create that emotional connection with. Because if you just have a very generalized set of basic details about a group of people, it's going to be really difficult to understand what is going to get into their hearts and minds and make them feel seen and understood and compelled to make a purchase. So really the first step in driving that connection and is having a crystal clear idea of exactly who your target customer is. If you're not familiar with the term customer avatar or customer persona, this is an essential piece of what we're really going to be talking about today with brand building. This is one of those core exercises that you're going to need to do if you want to do this effectively. And a customer avatar is really a very detailed profile of a person that is within that target customer pool. This is something that by the time I'm done looking at your customer avatar, I should have crystal clarity in my mind of who that person is, not just on surface level of their age or the kind of job they have, but what keeps them up in the middle of the night. What are the influencers that they follow? What's their sense of humor? And all of this detail is going to begin to give us a lot of really powerful tools that we can use to begin to drive connection. So just as when you're meeting somebody in real life, and the more that you learn about that person, the more that you're able to find ways of establishing that one-on-one connection, we can do that same thing on a bigger scale with brand building. And so once you have that clarity about who your customer is, then you can begin to think about what kind of emotions are they already feeling related to the product that I'm selling or the problem that I'm trying to solve. And so that's where we really have a lot of great, juicy space that we can begin to play with. So maybe you're selling a product that is for hunting enthusiasts. And so for them, it's going to be a lot of confidence and excitement around a hobby that they feel really passionate about. And they're imagining that big, now I'm putting myself into a corner. I am not a hunter, so I'm going to probably butcher some of the language, but people that are maybe, they're aspiring to that big trophy kill that they are aiming for. And so they're imagining, wow, I can't wait to be able to post that picture on social media and to tell all my friends about it. And so there's a level of identity and pride and excitement and enthusiasm around that. And so if you can connect in with that, maybe also some some frustration even from past experiences where they weren't able to act as quickly as they needed to, or to see as clearly, or they got too cold and had to go in early. And so if you're able to also maybe touch on some of those obstacles that they are trying to overcome to achieve this really exciting trophy moment that they are working so hard to achieve, then that's really going to be able to give you an opportunity to connect with the customers beyond the more basic levels of functionality of what it is that your product does.
Yeah, so Emma and I were talking offline about some of the shows I'm going to. So I unfortunately put it in her head that I'm going to a hunting show. I kind of threw her off topic. You know what though? You did great. You did great. You stuck with it.
I did grow up in Missouri, so I grew up in the vicinity of
there
a lot
you go.
of this.
Not a hunter myself, but definitely a fisherman, and grew up as a fisherman. So, but you did great on that. And you know what? All those things that Emma said apply to any type of product you're selling. So don't get too hung up on the whole hunting thing. It could be any type of product. So I love how you started talking about customer avatars. So let's say I do a bunch of research on a product that I'm not familiar with, but I see like, hey, this product does really well and it sells well. And I got these great factories that can make it. And I could probably do really well selling this. Now, being I'm not an expert, let's say in that particular category that I'm going to sell in, but I know it's a good product to sell. How should I go about kind of creating that customer avatar? Is it like with AI? Should I get in Facebook groups and really kind of learn what they're talking about and their pain points? You touched on a little bit, but let's talk a little bit more about maybe the newer top entrepreneur that's just found the product and they want to learn more about how to create that customer avatar.
Yeah, so it's really, you heard me trying to speak compellingly and convincingly about hunting, even though it's something that I'm not super familiar with. And so this is something that is not out of the ordinary, that you're selling a product that you're not super familiar with who that customer is going to be that's actually using it. And so it's great to use a variety of different tools, but I really like to treat this almost as if you're an actor who is studying to play a role. And so you really want to dig in and do as much research as possible. And also with the understanding that the customer avatar that you might create before you've actually sold a product may not align with who you discover your customer avatar to be once your product is live and selling and you begin to have those interactions with customers. Sometimes it's not even that you made the wrong choice, but it's just that a whole group of people discover your product that you never would have imagined. And so then you have a decision of whether to go in that direction or not. But I'm kind of taking myself down a rabbit hole before answering the question. So AI is a great tool in order to be able to get that quick starting point and to help give you some indication of where to begin, because there are depths to any group of customers. So even somebody who let's go in a different direction. Somebody who practices yoga, you have different kinds of yoga. You have different levels of yoga. You have maybe other interests that intersect with different types of yoga. So be it vegetarianism or meditation. And so you really want to be able to have that starting point, and AI is a great way of being able to say, this is somewhere that I can begin. And then from there, you do want to actually spend time really absorbing and observing your potential customers. So finding out where they hang out online, who are the TikTok influencers in that space, or Instagram, Facebook, different types of customers are going to have their preferences of different types of platforms where they spend their time. And what that is going to do when you pull those two pieces together is the AI generated customer avatar that you create is still going to feel a little bit two-dimensional because it's not actually a real person. Once you start actually listening and seeing people that are talking in passionate ways about products or experiences or interests that overlap with what it is that you're selling and who it is that you're selling to, then that's really going to bring that customer avatar to life. You're going to be able to start to understand the kinds of slang that they use. If there's a certain set of vocabulary that is specific to that customer group, if there are other related interests or reference points or comedians that everybody likes. And so that will start to not only give you more insight into who your customers are, but it will also begin to give you a set of tools that you can pull from to reference in your content and to use as a way to be able to really drive that connection forward.
Love that. Yeah. And, if you're starting out using AI with ChatGPT, be careful. It's going to give you some basics. It's going to get you started. But I love that you said, really go spend some time and understand your avatars. Don't just rely heavily on ChatGPT. Again, that's going to get you your starting point, but go learn it. Go learn it. If you're going to be an expert in the area of something you're selling, you definitely want to understand it, find influencers, find groups, and go really understand what their pain points are. Great answer. I appreciate that. So before we got the show recording or got it going, we are talking about the 4 C's. Now we're talking about 4 C's when it came to branding efforts. You explained it to me, but explain to everybody what the 4 C's are and how they're used in branding efforts.
Absolutely. So we've actually already spoken about the first C, which is really getting clear on who your customer is. That is such an important starting point from which we really can't do an effective job. But just as important as understanding who our customers are, we also have to understand our competitors. So that is the second C. We need to have crystal clarity about who we are competing against so that we can understand how to successfully position ourselves in contrast to the competition. Because if we are just trying to play the exact same game and to create product pages, websites, imagery, social media presence, all of that is heavily inspired by our competition, then what reason does a customer actually have to choose you over the option that was already out there that might have more traction, that might have more brand awareness, that might have more reviews or just more sort of buzz in the space? And so by really diving deep into who your competitors are and where their strengths and weaknesses are, then you can begin to chart out where it is that you can really carve out a unique space, maybe emphasizing how you are better than or different than or serving a different group of people. That strategic differentiation can be rooted in a variety of different things, but oftentimes when we are talking about selling a product, unless you really have a unique first of its kind invention, you are going to be selling against very similar competitors who are selling very similar products. And so that's why it's so important to really lean into this brand building piece, so that because that is going to be oftentimes your point of differentiation. So we know who our customers are, we know who our competitors are. This third piece is getting clear on who you are, your company identity. So that is going to be that missing piece that's going to pull these first 3 C's together. So you've understood where your competitors' strengths and weaknesses are. You understand where you might want to be positioning yourself in the market, but who are you? What is it that's really unique to what it is that you are doing and selling? And this can then even begin to transcend the product itself into a set of values, into perhaps some future that you are working towards achieving. This could be in the form of maybe you have there's a cause or an organization that you support. So it can look like many different things, and that's all going to be decisions that you really have to make, but then also always making them through that lens of, is this going to delight my customers? What are they really going to care about? And is this going to create that contrast with my competitors so that I'm creating a compelling reason for why customers should choose me over the other options that are out there. And so those are the 3 C's that when you do them really effectively, then you are able to achieve the 4th C, which we've also already spoken about, which is connection. So driving that connection could be through how you're communicating with your customers. It can be through that contrast that you're creating. It can be about how you are presenting yourself, making sure that every single piece that you are putting out there on behalf of your company, that it is in alignment with that company identity, so that people are getting a cohesive experience and that is going to delight your customers. And so when you're doing those first 3 C's effectively, then that is really the springboard for driving meaningful connection that's going to increase that likelihood for customer loyalty, for brand evangelism, and for something that's beyond just that very transactional interaction.
Okay, I'm going to tell everybody right now, stop and rewind that and listen to those 4 C's again, because those are crucial. They're great explanation of all 4 of those C's. So definitely people should rewind and listen to that again and maybe take some notes. Listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, though, let's transition a bit into brand loyalty and maybe some tactics to boost brand loyalty right after this commercial break.
Looking to take your e-commerce business to the next level? Meet Miva, the platform powering seamless online stores with the flexibility you need to grow. From custom solutions to user-friendly tools, Miva helps you create unforgettable shopping experiences. Ready to transform your business? Visit miva.com/podcast and see what's possible.
So head on over to miva.com/podcast. Check out previous episodes of the podcast, some great resources there. And I've got Emma on from Marketing by Emma, and we're talking today about win customers anywhere with smarter brand building. We just got done with the 4 C's, and I'd like to transition because this will be related, obviously, to the last C, and that's brand loyalty and tactics to boost brand loyalty. So Emma, tell us a bit about what kind of tactics brands should be using to boost their loyalty.
So why will people be loyal? That really comes down to trust more than anything else. That's just the basic thing that we need to make sure that we are really trying to build and respect when we are doing everything. Because if you're doing a bait and switch with your marketing where you're presenting your product as one thing and then the customer gets it home and realizes that it is not that, then you've shot yourself in the foot and you're not going to be able to have a chance at even keeping that person as a one-time customer, because they're probably going to want a return. So really, brand loyalty begins with that initial touch point of transforming somebody into a first-time customer, and then upholding those promises that you made and really helping to build that reliance, that confidence that they know that when they get a product from you, that it is going to, at baseline, live up to what their expectations were, if not exceed them. And that exceeding part, that going above and beyond, that can be a really powerful tool for transforming that customer into somebody who just happened to buy your product into somebody that is like, this is the company that I want to come to shop for all of my future purchasing needs related to this thing, and also tell other people about it. And so it's also something where brand loyalty doesn't just happen in the good moments. Brand loyalty, you also have those opportunities to create in the bad moments. So when somebody's maybe has something that doesn't go according to plan, how do you actually solve that problem? And the solving the problem can be sometimes even more powerful than just having a positive experience at that initial moment, and can really be an opportunity for somebody to see, wow, I knew I liked this company, but now seeing the way that they solved this and made it right, I feel like I know for certain that they're going to take care of me, that they really care about my best interest, and that they see me as a person, not just as a transaction.
Absolutely. Great answer. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about when it comes to niche marketing, or I'm sorry, niche audiences. So, for instance, Emma gave this great thing about yoga, right? Maybe yoga mats or something like that. There's probably going to be a different audience that strictly does yoga outside versus inside versus both. There could be, vegan, vegetarian, maybe some that aren't either of those. So how should brands target some of these niche markets? Because everybody's so focused on the big audience, the large audience, but sometimes you get those right niche audiences and man, it pays off, and it pays off big, and it can produce just as much revenue as the big ones. But tell us your thoughts on that.
The niche audiences are so valuable and so important. And I think that it's easy to get sort of those. I always imagine, if you're familiar with the Disney movie Aladdin, when he goes into the Cave of Wonders and it's like, you're not supposed to touch anything, but then they get the big googly eyes at all the jewels and gems everywhere. And I think that that's what can really easily happen when you are thinking about how to penetrate a new category or maybe create your advertising campaigns. And so you're looking at the category at large and you're seeing, wow, there are 200,000 searches for yoga mats every month. Like, that's clearly, I don't want to get any more specific than that, because I want to capture every single search that is for yoga mats. And that is really just trying to climb a almost impossible to climb mountain, because it's unlikely that you are the first mover there. So there are already well-established brands, and obviously nobody can capture everyone. And so if you're really trying to make inroads in a new category, or even if you're just struggling and you're feeling like, I just cannot seem to build the traction that I need to, the niches can be a great way to go back to what we spoke about at the very beginning, with that driving connection and a clear understanding of who your customers are. And let's just follow into this idea of yoga mats a little bit further. So there are many different types of yoga. So there's hot yoga, and hot yoga, you're practicing in a room that's not that different from a sauna, meaning that you're sweating profusely. And that requires then a certain set of features that a yoga mat needs that might be different from somebody who is practicing like the kind of yoga that I like, which is Iyengar yoga, which is much slower. It's really focused on proper poses, and it's a very, very, very different even intention behind why you would be practicing one or the other. And so that means the goals that the people have that are practicing these two types of yoga are different. The needs that they have from their yoga mat are different. Probably the people that they look to as sort of the gurus or influencers that they are aspiring to are different. And so how can you speak to both of those people in a compelling way that's really going to make them feel seen and understood without being to really speak to either of those points? Instead, you're just going to end up creating a very generalized piece of content for your product page or your advertising or your social media that's really then not going to speak strongly to either of them. Because if you're looking for a yoga mat and you know that you want to use it in hot yoga and you don't want to be slipping and sliding all over the place, then you want to find a product and land on that product page that is going to reassure you that this is the ideal mat for hot yoga. And so you're not going to be guessing of whether it's going to meet those basic needs that you have. And so that's where this niche knowledge and really leaning into it, that's just one of the reasons why it's so powerful. There are a lot of other reasons why, which I don't think we have time to get into today. But if you feel like you are limiting yourself or you are really minimizing your opportunity for success, so often it's actually the other way around. It's that when you get really clear and you target a specific niche or niches, then you really tap into that momentum that you've had trouble building previously.
Absolutely. we could probably go on a lot longer on all these topics and how in-depth they are, and really the things you need to do. But I want to give you some time to talk about Marketing by Emma, and tell us a little bit about how Marketing by Emma came to be, what kind of services you offer, how you help people, because there's probably plenty of people listening that have brands and they're just like, this is great, but I just don't have time to do this. Who do I need to call? And that would be you. So tell everybody about how you got started and how you can help them out.
Absolutely. And, one point I want to mention before I get into a bit about me and my story is one of the elephants in the room that we haven't discussed yet is how AI shapes and influences all of this. And I think that a lot of people are under the impression of, well, I can just use AI to create all of my content and it's going to save me a lot of time and check mark, done. We're all good. And AI is really powerful and can be such a valuable tool for helping with all of this. But the problem is that everybody has access to the same tools. And even if you are using all of the customizations and you have your prompting dialed in and you trained your AI to understand exactly who your brand identity is, you still have to do all of that initial work in understanding who your customers are, who you want to be as a brand, how you're going to be positioning yourself against your competition. And that kind of high level thinking is so important. And those are decisions that your AI can't make, but also being able to then maybe even use the AI as an initial starting point, but then putting your own unique spin on it is really what's going to be able to cut through the noise. Because the other thing that AI is doing is it's giving every other company the ability to generate and churn out massive amounts of content. And so one of the really key ways to be able to cut through the noise and to be able to stand out and still drive connection is this brand building piece. And it has always been important, but it has become even more critically important now as we enter into this very different e-commerce future that we're pretty firmly stepped into already. So I started Marketing by Emma with my husband and business partner Eras in 2016. Back then, things were much more straightforward and streamlined. The e-commerce space has changed immensely, but what hasn't changed is what we started doing then and what we have continued to remain focused on doing is really helping brands identify their unique voice and how to communicate that in a way that's really going to resonate and delight their target customers. And we do this through creating product pages and brand identities, brand story, and allowing you to be able to not just be another company that is using the exact same garbled content, but something that is unique to you, that's going to cut through the noise and that's going to really transform that customer into a loyal fan.
Absolutely. Love that. And let's let everybody know if they are interested in reaching out to you, maybe they had some questions or they're interested in your service. How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can go to marketingbyemma.com or send us an email at hello@marketingbyemma. I do also have a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/marketingbyemma. And if you wanted to go deeper into any of these topics, I have videos on the 4 C's. I have videos into how to create your customer avatar and all of these different steps that are so important. So I would highly suggest that if this struck a chord, or if you're wanting to go deeper, which you should, going over to there and watching some of the content and subscribing if you find it valuable. And we would be happy to answer any questions that you have, help in any way that we can. We also even do workshops and group trainings. So if you have a team that's already doing this and you want to get them aligned and really taking your content to the next level, then please reach out and we would be happy to help.
Absolutely. Make sure you subscribe to this one. Go over to Emma's, subscribe to hers. She's got great videos. I love when she comes out with videos, and they're always very, very good content and something you can learn from. But definitely head over to Marketing by Emma and marketingbyemma.com. And check out everything Emma does on social media. She's always putting out great content and great information. Big shout out to her husband, one of my favorite guys. And thank you so much, Emma, for being on the show and providing all this great content, this great information. Everybody, please reach out to Emma and go learn more about marketing, because you have to keep building your brand. You got to keep thinking, what am I going to do next? And if you're not sure, ask Emma, because she'll help you out. So have that brand story. Even if you don't feel like a brand story's there, talk to her, because I'm sure there is a brand story there. And I think people can get hung up on that. Sometimes they're just like, I started this product line and it just kind of took off. That could be a story. Trust me, it could definitely be a story. So don't get hung up on that and reach out to Emma. Emma, thanks again for being on Ecommerce Revamped. We really appreciate you coming on the show. Always great having you on and great seeing you. And thanks everyone for tuning in, and be sure to listen to the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to Ecommerce Revamped. Ready to take your e-commerce business to the next level? Visit Miva.com for the tools to build seamless online stores and unforgettable customer experiences. Until next time, keep your carts full and your customers happy.